In my last video, we talked about the importance of us investing in the people around us, giving them responsibility and authority so that they can grow and increasingly step into who God's called them to be. In this video, I want to talk about the privilege we have as leaders of leaving a legacy for the generations who come after us. You know, kingdom leadership looks like laying your life down and pouring your life out for the next generations so that they can succeed in God and flourish and go further than we could ever have dreamed of going. The challenge often in organisations and in churches is that there's a wrong view of leadership. Often we can view leadership through a hierarchical model where most of the people are at the bottom of the triangle, then you've got people who've got a bit more responsibility and leadership in the middle, but the top of the triangle, that's the main leader, that's the main person, they're in charge, they're at the top, and if we're honest, often we're looking to be the most important person. That's what we're aiming for. The issue with this kind of leadership is the person at the top becomes a cap on the potential of the rest of the people in that organisation. And this is not kingdom leadership. This is not what Jesus modelled. Jesus was in fact, and is in fact, at the top of the triangle, but he chose to lead a different way. And he chose to humble himself and pour himself out for the people around him. And so we see him taking 3 years to invest in his disciples. He did life with them. He gave them responsibility and authority. He coached them. He trained them. He let them make mistakes and learn lessons. And then ultimately, he literally laid his life down for them. What we see, because of Jesus' investment in his disciples, is the impact on the rest of the world. The disciples, when the Holy Spirit was poured out at Pentecost, they just exploded. The church was born and the world has never been the same again. And we still continue to live in the legacy Jesus has won for us. And if we're leading as sons and daughters, this is the kind of leadership that we're looking to emulate. We want to be like Jesus, don't we? We don't want to be people who are grasping for position or title or who are wanting to be at the top of the triangle. Instead, we want to be people who are looking to lay our lives down and pour our lives out for the people around us so that they can flourish and take things further. We've got to think through the lens of legacy and generations. But it's not always straightforward. I remember when I was handing over TSM to Marco, I'd led it for about 7 or 8 years, and we then had 1 year where we were leading it together, and this was the first year where he was leading in his own right. And it was the launch weekend, and he was just about to preach about the vision of the school, and I was stood at the back of the room. And as he started to speak, I saw him step into his space, and I saw all the students looking to him and being attentive to him and laughing at his jokes and really being engaged in what he was saying and responding to what he was saying. And I was stood at the back of the room and I felt completely hidden. And I had this internal tussle, even though I'd led with a kingdom mindset and I'd handed this thing over to Marco for free. The price I'd paid to lead the school, I handed it all over to him for free so that he could take it further. I had this internal tussle and it went a bit like this. What's the point anymore? Why am I even here? I've got no purpose. I've got no role. I don't need to be here. I should just leave the room. I've got nothing to bring anymore. No one needs me anymore. And there was a strong desire to leave the room. It's very interesting, isn't it? You don't realise how much your identity is in the stuff you do until you stop doing that stuff. And you don't realise how much affirmation you're getting from people looking to you and needing you until they're no longer looking to you or needing you. And maybe they're actually looking to and needing someone else. In that moment, I had a revelation of when my identity was a little bit out of joint. And I had the privilege of listening to the Father and him communicating his heart to me. And he told me, Wendy, I know you. I've seen it all. I've seen the price you've paid. I've seen the cost. I've seen it all. And I'm celebrating you. I'm celebrating you in this moment. And it was a beautiful moment. You know, we've got to go on this journey of growing in our identity as sons and daughters, because in the kingdom, leadership is not about us. This is not about us. It's about Jesus. And it's about paying a price to see him made famous and to see his kingdom come with power so that we have a brilliant inheritance to pass on to the next generation. You know, we have this privilege of completely surrendering to Jesus, of giving him all of our heart, of saying yes to all that he's called us to and fighting the battles he's called us to fight so that we can see his kingdom come with incredible power through us. And then we have the privilege of handing all of our victories and all of our breakthroughs for free to the generations that come after us, so that our ceiling in God becomes their floor. So that they get to start where we finish off, so that they then get to pay their own price and fight their own battles to see God's kingdom come with even more breakthrough and in even more incredible ways. This is what leadership in the kingdom looks like. We've got to think through the lens of legacy and the generations so that Jesus gets what he paid for. So let me ask you this question. Have you ever thought about the legacy you want to leave for the next generation? Have you ever dreamed with God about it? If not, I want to encourage you to do so. Get some time with God and dream about the legacy you want to leave. And then ask the Holy Spirit, what are my next steps to see this ground taken so that I get to leave this inheritance to the next generation so they can take the breakthrough further. In my next video, which is going to be the last one, we're going to look at the importance of our hearts and our internal journey as we go on this journey of increasingly growing into our identity as sons and daughters.